magical American Express card. You know why it's magical? Sit down with any of you guys that need to do.
Okay? So it's not going to happen today. It may not happen tomorrow. Give it a few days, it'll happen. There's a staff day coming up, right? One of those days, the study days. The staff use those to kind of catch up on some stuff and do some of this work. So it's okay. So it might take a time or two, but in the meantime, you're either looking up videos, or you're reading other books, you've got stuff to do. But you know, there are things that can still be done between now and getting these courses signed up. So nobody stressed. If we're still having this conversation 3 classes from now, stressed. But for the next 3 classes, we're allowed to not have things organized in terms of all the payments. That'll give Colleen, Darrell, and Chris time to process through everybody, okay? So that's the expectation I want to set. Now, do we want to talk more about the fine art of negotiating or the fine art of being purposed? What conversation do we need to have today?
Guys?
Or are we all done?
I like the negotiation.
I got one negotiation. Anybody else?
What's the other one? Negotiation.
Well, I mean, this is where what I want to do is we talked about a few things today. We talked about doing things purposely or purposefully, and we talked about the importance of negotiation. And then in job search, we talked about the importance of getting the offer, not saying no, saying yes. I'm okay. What I want to do now is I want to have conversations on this. Like, this is going to be a kind of a mock trial of what's it like to have a conversation around these topics with you guys. Go ahead.
What do you call it? Get the offer?
Getting the offer?
Yeah. How you go about getting the offer?
Well, you know, one of the things you want to do on an interview is you always want to leave an interview where you close the sale. The whole point of selling is at some point asking for the order. So if I wanted you to have this pen, right? And I tell you about this pen, I said this is a Parker pen, it's a metal barrel, it's a black enamel, it's got a separate cap, the pen's got some nice weight to it, it's got a long-lasting ink cartridge, it's refillable, so you buy the barrel once, you refill the ink. Am I selling you the pen at this point? I'm talking about all that stuff?
Yes.
All right. In a technical vernacular, go ahead.
Details.
I'm giving you
put
details.
that in your resume, all those details.
This is what I would call features and benefits. I'm marketing the pen to you. I'm telling you about the features and benefits of the pen. Why is this pen this pen? If I then start to say, you know, this pen has the weight of it gives it a nice flow, so when you write, the ink moves very nice. It's a roller point. You know, I start doing this. Now you try this pen. Hey, you gotta try this pen, man. It's an amazing pen. It's got some nice weight to it, doesn't it? Go ahead, jiggle it on the paper, see what it feels like. Now am I selling?
Yeah.
Damn straight I'm selling, but I'm not done selling yet. Priced pretty well, right?
Yeah.
See how I'm getting him to say yes a couple times to it?
Yeah.
Now the only time I'm actually selling him is if when I say to him, I have 2 of these. Would you be interested in buying one? It's when I ask for the order is that I'm actually selling. Now he would be interested. I didn't even tell him how much. Man, $150 each. Give me $100. No, I'm just kidding. They're not that much. It's $9.
I was saying, do I got the job?
Yeah. So, and you know, part of the selling in a job interview is at the end of the interview, when the interview is done, the person will inevitably ask or make the statement, do you have any additional questions? Your question might be, because you don't want to look pompous. If you say, do I have the job, that could be a bit abrasive. You might say, I'm really interested in this. Can you tell me what the next steps are? I wanted to know, because I'd really like to see this happen. That's as hard of a sell you can do at the end of an interview, to say what's the next step. That's asking for the order without being too aggressive. One of our students said at one time, do you have any questions? And they're like, yes, what day do I start?
Oh.
That's a little hard. You know what I mean? It's not a hard sell because you're aware that they're interviewing other people. So you want a softer sell. So I think a good soft sell might be a comment like, the only question I have, because I feel like this is a job that I can not only do, but I can do really well and bring my full self into it. My question would be, what are the next steps and how soon before you make a decision?
What are the next steps?
What are the next steps and how soon before you make a decision?
Okay.
Michael, can I interrupt for a second?
Go ahead.
Guys, while Michael's talking, please minimize your screens and not be typing unless you're recording what he's saying. Okay.
Thanks.
How soon would you make this decision?
How does that sound? I mean, does that sound like a reasonable? And again,
Yeah.
those are my words.
That's the next question.
Yeah, those are my words. You have to use your own personality and your own words, but that's what I would say.
Okay.
All right.
I like that.
So let's role play. So we're done with the interview, right? I'm sorry, your first name again is?
Yeah.
Daryl. So Daryl, we're all Daryl Sawyer, right? Yeah. So Daryl, this has been great. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Did you have any questions for me before we took off?
Yes.
And they are?
I really like this job. I really like this opportunity that's being presented to me. Is it possible that can't find the word?
It's okay, and it takes practice to be used to doing that. You know, it's so funny. I have gotten so used to Daryl over time. Like always selling, always closing, always looking to advance. Like I'm a chess player. Is anybody else who's a chess player here? Daryl, you should know this. Then this is like a chess. I'm always stacking the board. I'm always moving the pieces. I never know what's going to happen because I don't control what the other player does. But I'm always trying to maximize my opportunities because I'm selfish. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being selfish, is there?
No.
I think selfish is good. Has anybody ever flown before?
Yeah.
What do they say? In the event of an emergency, put whose oxygen mask on first? Damn straight, man. I'm going to get that oxygen mask on myself. If I want to help others, I better take care of myself first. I don't think there's anything wrong with being selfish, looking out for what you need. Now, I don't think you should be self-centered, and I've said this 100 times. I don't think it's what I need and screw you all. I think it's what I need comes first because it's what I need. And it's okay to be okay. So, you know, part of this is I'm always looking not how to take advantage of somebody, but how to present myself in the best light at all times. And I think that's a totally an appropriate thing to do. Go ahead.
Can you write notes and have notes at dinner?
Oh my God. Only if you want to have them fall in love with you, take notes.
No, I
Taking
mean,
notes is brilliant.
not take notes, I'm sorry. Not have notes. Like notes, like he has.
Oh, no,
you
can't go in with a cheat sheet. You can't go in with...
Yeah.
You can't go in there with index cards. Like, what am I going to stand there saying, say this now?
No,
Like, no.
right. Roll my sleeve up.
No, but if you take notes during an interview, that's awesome.
I can't take notes.
I evaluated a woman the other day for this program, like I evaluated it with all you guys. And she said to me, and it made me fall in love with her instantly, she goes, you mind if I take notes during the evaluation? I'm like, who are you? Oh, come here, let me give you a hug. I thought it was fantastic. I didn't actually hug her because I would have been crossing the line, but I wanted to.
Okay.
Because it was just like, there's a person who's like really interested in like, she wanted to be able to document all this process, to take notes on it and then talk. You took notes in our meeting. I remember that, Claude. And I think, Pt.2, you took notes. Or if you didn't, you remembered everything I said.
I sure did.
Yeah. But I think it's awesome to take notes
It
during a
was
meeting.
almost life-changing for me, that little bit of time.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you. But I think practice, Daryl, will help you with that. Practice in knowing that it's okay to say what it is you want. Like, if you really like the job, I think it's totally legitimate to say, I really like this opportunity. Like, the more we talked about it, the more we got into the interview, I really found myself getting excited that this could be where I'm going to be. This is great. I really want to know, like, what happens next? Who else do you have to talk to? And like, when do you think you'll make a decision? Because I really want this.
Okay, so what's the next step? And what was that last question you said?
And when do you think you're going to make a decision?
How soon would you make a decision?
Who do I contact?
Yeah, who do I contact? And then again, it's then thank you letters, thank you notes, phone calls. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the interview. Thank you for sharing about your company.
Is that when you need to, like, that one way out to ask for a business card?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You want cards. Go ahead.
You should also research the company before
Yeah,
you go
I
in
was
for the
about to say
interview,
that.
so that you can go to them and say, now I know this about your company and this and that, and it makes them feel good to know that.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some research and then you said what you don't want.
Right.
And then you could say how I fit into that.
Yeah. But I think if we're going to focus the conversation on the importance of getting the offer, not the importance of taking the offer. I am okay with if you get 100 offers and reject all of them. Again, part of what I had to do, going back to my brother, and part of what I've done with some of the guys who finished the program before you guys, I've told them, don't take every offer. I'm talking to, you know, Marcia Thrower, right? Marcia's like, but what if I don't, like, what if I get an offer I don't want to take? And I'm like, after we've done all the negotiations? She goes, yeah, after we've negotiated. I said, don't take it. She goes, well, you'd be disappointed. I'm like, no. How long are you going to take in a job you don't want? How long are you going to last? Your goal is to get the offer. And again, somebody said before, but I feel like I'm taking advantage of the business. Really? Let it go. Forget about that. You think they're worried about you? Do you think if they don't call you back for an interview, do you think anybody at the company's going, oh man, Rowena, she was just so sweet, and I can't believe I'm not going to call her back. Do you think they're losing sleep over not calling you back? Yeah, I mean, and again, I think it's endearing that we're always so sensitive about how people feel. But toughen up. Come on.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
What about when they ask you, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? I always get stuck on that.
Do you have any hobbies or interests?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think it would relate to the job.
Well, okay, let's try this out. This sounds like a very easy question. So, what are your hobbies and interests?
I like going to church, and I like reading the Bible.
Okay.
So, now if this
What
person...
kind of job are you applying for again? Remind me.
Customer service.
Okay. Big company, small company?
Big company, I guess.
Okay. So in a big company, now I want you to think about this. So if you're applying for a big company, small company where you can create more of a personal connection, if you're applying for a big company. The big companies, are they more bureaucratic or less bureaucratic? Are they more formal or less formal? More, right? So you like going to church and reading the Bible.
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with those hobbies?
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not. So you know you're applying for a job for a big company that has bureaucracy, rules, that governs how they do things. So if I ask you what your hobbies are, how strategic of an answer is it that you say church and Bible?
Not very at all.
I don't think it's strategic at all.
No.
Right? Because then all of a sudden I'm like, is she going to talk about religion to people on the phone when they're calling in to find out if their cable bill's been paid?
So
Is she going to say to a person who's having a bad day, I can tell you're having a bad day, maybe we need to pray together on the phone right now.
Which they won't allow that.
Well, but they might think you're going to do it because what are your hobbies? I like going to church and reading the Bible.
So I have to change what I say.
No, but I would edit what you say.
Edit? Yeah.
You can edit it. So what you might say is, I'm really involved in my community. And I find such pleasure in the community support that I get. It's a part of who I am. You know why? I love connecting to people.
I have another one.
Okay, wait a
Oh
minute.
wait, does connecting to people have anything to do with customer service?
Yeah.
Yes.
Damn.
I like that. I like that.
Oh, that's pretty slick.
Connecting with other people. I like that.
All
Yeah.
right, Paul, Oscar, go ahead.
Okay, what if you're in my position, going back to where the job offer is,
Loud.
and you never had a job opportunity, you never had a good job. Like me, I never had a good working field where I was full-time or part-time or anything like that. Maybe one-time, part-time, like 2 months.
You generally don't want to tell a prospective business or employer that, well, I've worked because I've clearly made money, but I've done it all illegally and under the table. Like, I live in the real world, so I get illegal under the table stuff. The camera's off, right?
No.
What the hell, Daryl? All right. It's wrong and you should never do it. It's okay, I understand it happens all the time. Don't worry about it. But you cannot tell that to a business.
Of course.
All right, so how do you deal with that? You just say, I have volunteered and interned for a variety of businesses and companies. And those have been awesome experiences for me.
Okay.
I've been a contractor for a number of companies in entertainment venues. They've contracted with me and I've enjoyed that work. Is contracting illegal? Is interning or volunteering illegal? Is getting cash under the table frowned upon in our society?
Yes.
Yeah, but does everybody do it?
Yeah.
Kinda.
Almost.
Just don't talk about it a whole lot. It's because it's not going to present you in the most strategic light possible.
Right. That's all I wanted to know. How would I say that? Like, I volunteered to put it on the resume.
I would say you have been contracted with these people. Now, do you know if they ever sent in a 1099 for you, a tax form? But you're going to assume they did, right? Because you're a good, upstanding citizen, and you assume they are too. Yeah, I'm not the tax police. I'm not going to bust you for this. But you say, yeah, you know, I've been a contractor to a number of local venues. In fact, if you need references, I can give you the name of 5 club owners you might want to talk to let you know how I influence people and kind of stack the events. As a contractor, you're cool. As a cash under the table guy, Not so much.
Okay.
Because we're all allowed to have done something. You remember in an interview, like, I don't have to go to Janet and say, I don't want to go to seafood. I don't want to take you to seafood because seafood gives me gas, and I don't want to wind up like burping and farting in the car with you on the way home. Why would I sell my worst point? You know what I mean? Let's go to Italian food. Nobody has to look like an idiot at that point. Why would I sell a negative? Hi, I have engaged in illegal financing activities and don't pay taxes on income. Let's not lead with that. Let's phrase that differently. I'm going to proselytize and try to save everybody in the in the Independence Blue Cross family who's maybe sick. I'll pray over them.
Right.
Now, you might want to do that, and you might be the person that does that, but you're going to say, my community of support is so valuable to me. I spend my time engaging and helping people in a nurturing environment. It's just awesome. It's a big part of who I am.
I like that.
But you see what I'm talking about? I'm okay getting excited about things that excite me. One of the things in an interview that I think is really awesome is being okay getting excited. You're into enforcement. Or you start talking about, like, what you've done in the past at the prisons, because you were corrections, right? Yeah. So what you did in corrections and, all the training you had to go through for firearms and all that other good stuff and how important security and protocol is for you, I would imagine nobody goes into that job without having a passion or draw for it. You're excited by it. I think it's good to get excited about stuff. I got to tell you, from when I was a kid, I knew that security and compliance were important. You want order, you need compliance. You want order, you need somebody to make sure it stays orderly. I'm that guy. I've always been that guy. If my parents would leave and say, hey, you're in charge of the house until I get back, I tell you what, they came back, all my other brothers and sisters were doing push-ups when they came back. I'm in charge. That was my brother, by the way. It was not me. I was not the compliant one. My brother would start writing lists. He would write lists. Michael did this, Michael did that.
Wow.
And then the inevitable thing on his list would say, Michael tore up my first list. Because I always do that. Nick was a little putz. Still is. But, does this make sense?
Yes.
All right, give me some other things. What are other things that... Because the other thing I want this class to be is not me necessarily teaching, but me answering the fears that I know you have.
Yeah.
One of the things that I gained from doing all the assessments, like when I look back that I've evaluated about 1,000 people for this program from the start till now, 1,000 deep conversations. And that's only in this program. All the other things I do, maybe another 4,000 over the 20 years. You get to see where people have fear really easy. I get it. I get there's excitement mixed with fear all the time. Tell me what you're afraid of, and let's talk about it. Go ahead. I saw a hand. Go ahead.
I find out why I like this. I get nervous. I'm trying to look into their eyes, to talk to them. I'm a little nervous about it.
Because?
Stuttering and stuff. I don't know.
Well, it's again 3 words that I think are. Tita, we talked to. Was it us? No, I was talking to Marsha about this. Edit. Explain. And edit, combine, or explain. And I think those are 3 good words, and I'll explain how I think they work. So let's say you're a little frightened in an interview, and you feel like you're making a bad impression because you're nervous. One of the things you might want to say, you might want to explain that, because people are going to assume. The one thing I've learned in an assessment, and I've learned this with all you guys and everything I've done, is there's always that, the expression, the elephant in the room, the thing that's not being said but everybody knows needs to be said. Mm-hmm. There was I remember when Janet and I got married, she had an aunt, Aunt Evie. And Aunt Evie didn't have a nose. She had 2 nostrils. And everybody in her family just accepted that Aunt Evie didn't have a nose. So it was the first time I met Aunt Evie, and one of the first things I said to her, I didn't go up to her and say, hi Aunt Evie, I'm Michael. Yeah, I didn't say, where's your nose? But one of the things I said, Aunt Evie, at some point it's like, it must be hard to keep your glasses on because they must be falling off your face.
No, you didn't.
No, I'm a bit of a joker. So yeah, I did say something like that. And she explained to me how when she was in an accident when she was a kid. But Janet didn't know the story about Aunt Evie. All the other kids in the family never asked because, you know, there's that elephant in the room of, you know, everybody wants to know, but nobody asks.
Yeah.
You know, one of my jobs is you ask, and because if you don't ask, people will assume.
Yeah.
She probably had a horrible picking accident. Maybe it was the car and ripped it. Something might have happened. Stuff happens. But if you explain it, it's not bad, right? Once you explain it, it's not bad. Another example. So we went out when Sarah, our teammate from Boston, was down to dinner. So Sarah, Seth, Janet, and I went to dinner on whatever night last week, Wednesday night, Thursday night. And Seth has his arm not in a cast anymore. If you've seen Seth, he has a tie, right? Just like a little tie. He's like an injured wing, like a little sick bird, just like with his little wing. And so, but again, he's funny. Like it still hurts, and Seth is a sensitive guy, so his arm's in this sling. And so you could tell the waitress because he was trying to do something, and he was like trying to do it very feebly and stuff like that. And then he went to the men's room, and you know the waitress wanted to say, what happened, like, hey, what happened to his arm? Like, why is it wrapped up in a tie, not in a real cast? Like, what's the deal with that? Because you knew it was the question. And so, you know, when there's an open question, people won't just say, what happened to his arm?
Right.
So I explained it. If you explain it, it satisfies people's curiosity. And I'm like, did you hear the story that Seth saved a baby from a train accident? Just rushed onto the track and saved that baby off the track. She's like, really? And I'm like, no, he fell down the stairs. But again, people want an explanation. So you're nervous in an interview. You know what I might say? I'm a little nervous because this is very exciting for me right now. Okay. Because they're going to know you're nervous. You know why? Your lips are smacking. You're not making eye contact. Your voice is trembling. But if you say, I'm very excited, right? Because now we're combining. You are excited, which is why you're nervous. I'm really excited, which is why I'm a little nervous. But I want to let you know, it's not that I don't want to be here, it's that I want to be here so much.
Okay.
Okay, I like that. I just wanted to let you know that.
So if you explain, you know they're going to say something. So somebody said, you know, what if I walk in with a walker, or if I'm in a wheelchair, or if there's something, you know, that creates this very visible identifier as there's a disability at some point. They can't ask you about it, but they're going to wonder the hell out of it, right? So how do you deal with that? Explain. Yeah. Or they're going to look at your resume and they're going to say, I see you graduated high school, I see you worked until 1996, and now here it is 2013.
So you explain that gap.
What the hell? Yeah. What happened in the meantime?
Yeah,
So what you might go ahead.
Is that kind of like the first thing you kind of do?
No, it happens in conversation. You just have to be aware of all the elephants you bring into the room with you. Like I am. Like, you know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Like I had that presentation on Friday at the Hilton Hotel, right? Friday morning before the event. And when I start going, man, I sweat. So I mean, it's coming off me everywhere, underarms. Like, you know, I had a jacket. I had to wear a jacket. Somebody said, "You look really hot. Why are you wearing a jacket?" I'm like, "You want to know why I'm wearing a jacket?" Literally in my presentation, I'm like, "I'm wearing a jacket because I have pit stains to my socks already." And you know this. You've seen me do this, man. They're like, "Take your jacket off," and I'm like, "Oh man, my pits are literally, my socks are wet. That's how much I'm sweating." And I literally used the line in my presentation. I'm like, "Have you ever been to SeaWorld? Where they paint a couple rows, like, you know, red, saying you will get wet if you're sitting this close?" I'm like, "You will get wet if you're sitting this close, because I sweat." But I explained it, and I said, "You know why I sweat? Because I'm excited to be here, and you're getting all the passion I know how to throw at it."
And that also brings positivity to the conversation, right?
Well, again, do you want to sell your name? Hey, I don't want to eat. I love scallops, but oof, you don't want to be around me after I have one. Do you want to sell that part of you, or do you want to say, let's go for Italian?
Yeah.
You want to sell the positives, not the negatives. Everybody, for whatever reason, you know, you have guys that are like, you know, you got Oscar in the back. He's like, he'll take cash on the table, but you go on an interview, and next thing you know, he starts selling negatives. I'm like, dude, you've been selling positives your whole life, taking cash. All of a sudden, I'm putting you on an interview. You're like a lawyer. All you want to do is tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. I'm like, where the hell is this coming from? Like, where is this coming from? You got to sell it, and you don't want to lie, but you don't want to say, oh, and by the way, here are things that you don't want to see. So can I just put them on a paper and have you look at them right now? You want to sell the positive.
Okay, how would you explain the gap if you what you said? Because of
Okay.
medical?
That's what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's explain it.
Mostly, like, I'm an older woman now.
How old are you?
I'm not going to tell you.
Hey, Janet says not older, experience.
Yeah, I'm an experienced woman.
Very good.
So when I go on an interview and they ask me about the gaps, I tell them I've been caregiving and volunteer work.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And I got to tell you, this is for the women in the room. I think you're going to have a hell of a lot easier time than the men. And it's unfortunately the reality of our sexist world. Go ahead.
So I'm wondering, because I have been doing some of that, but I didn't even realize that, like, foster parent is caregiving.
Absolutely.
It's all for conflict resolution. It's all a lot of patience.
Well, I met people
So you
who
never mention
your own disability.
Yeah. Do you mention that? Never.
Is that a positive or a negative?
That's probably a negative.
Yeah. And by the way, I have this disease or illness.
Oh, you can't say that.
No, why? You would never say that. That's not a good selling point. Now, you might have something that caused you to have a disability.
Right.
Do you lead with that?
No.
Hey, Johnny, let's go dancing. I have a club foot. We're going to make this thing. No, you don't do that. you know what you maybe you start off with this. How about this as an example?
There's what to tell.
That's right. You're making everybody, I'm going to get crazy today.
Hey, finish that man.
I took the
man having a hard time other than the women.
So, okay, so here's the male and female thing. Let's say you had a bout with MS, right? And I don't remember the nature of your disability, but let's say it was MS for a while. And for a while, you had this MS and you weren't able to be productive, and that's what caused you to kind of leave the labor market. Is it lying if you were saying in an interview, well, you know, I left the labor market in 1996 because I was engaged with some caregiving for a family member who had some needs. I'm happy to report that, you know, that's been resolved, and I was really grateful that I had the time to do that.
No, because you, the caregiver, person you give the care to is yourself.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I guess you can say that. Pretty creative.
Great.
Good that you suffered some kind of an unfortunate accident, but you overcame it.
I think, no, but
I like
that's
that
a brilliant point.
The spin for yourself that you're taking care of.
But you don't want to say, I had this happen to me. What you want to say is, because again, customer service, serving, I was helping a family member that was going through a significant medical situation. It was a very trying time, but we've come out of it, and I was grateful to have had the opportunity and flexibility because of my family to take that time away and do that. Wow, all of a sudden you're Florence Nightingale. Now, if you had an accident, I think it is like there's a job gap there. Yeah, you know, there is a job gap because in 1996 I was involved in a motor vehicle accident, and I crushed some bones in my left leg, and I had a hard time, and I had to go through a lot of rehab. And you want to know something? I learned a lot about myself during that rehabilitation. I learned that I had the dedication and fortitude to go to physical therapy, to do what I needed to do, and get myself back in shape. And the reason I can be here today is because I've gone through retraining, I've prepared myself, I have all my right medical releases, and I'm ready to go. And I'm stronger and more dedicated than I was before because I fought for this day to happen in my life. All of a sudden, everybody's crying. You know what I mean? Look at you. You got a little weepy right there, didn't you? But I think if there's an accident, you can do that. And for a guy, you can blend it in that kind of way. I had to do something that made me stronger, which is why I could be here. And it sounds weird, but I think, you know, and again, are you going to hear this in the real world? Probably not, but I think women have a slightly easier time because there's an expectation that a woman can move in and out of the labor market in terms of caregiving. I think there's more of a sensitivity to how men can do that, but I think men still needs a little bit more explanation and editing. You don't want to say everything, but you want to say enough.
Michael, if I may add, I've had people come in, potential students, and when they start talking about their issue, they say, I really am trying my hardest and moving on because it means so much to me to better myself, which then you spin it to the job. But these people that come in and that they give so much strength and that they're motivated, it really gets you. And I'm like there with them, yeah, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
does that answer your question?
And
we got that covered?
kudos.
That's how I would do that. Claude, what about you? Does that? It's hard. I mean,
Well,
employers are allowed to ask for
gaps. It just makes you
gaps.
think in another direction.
Employers are allowed to ask
Just
for
the
gaps.
gaps, yeah.
Or allowed to what?
They're allowed to ask for why is there a gap in your
Oh,
employment.
definitely.
Yeah, because again, they're looking for consistency. And again, if you know your resume has gaps, and Seth, who will at some point be preparing resumes with you guys, he'll be working to minimize the gaps because there are a lot of resume formats where you can de-emphasize gaps and focus on skills.
Volunteering.
But at some point, somebody's likely to say, you know, I noticed you weren't working. Can you tell me what you were doing during this time period? Legitimate
I
question.
knew that was going to come up.
Yeah.
I prepared for that.
Yeah.
That's
All
what
the time.
happened.
Go ahead. How would you answer it? Throw something out. Or do you?
I took a lot of home study courses.
I took a lot of home study courses. This is great. You know, and it's okay to say. I think it's okay to say, I had an opportunity because of a lot of other supports to spend some time focusing on some of my personal needs. And you know, are those supports government supports, family supports, neighbor supports, church supports?
And you don't want to look lazy.
No. I had some supports to take some time out of the labor market to address some things in my life that I wanted to, and in all honesty, needed to address. And now combining this with now something positive, I should put the words combined with something positive.
Mind.
Positive.
Okay, mind.
And I used that opportunity so that I could do blank. Get a certification, take a course, create some relationships with some grandkids. Volunteer. You want to either edit or explain, and whatever one you choose, you have to combine it with something positive.
Okay.
And this is a formula. I should publish this. I think you're fortunate. Go ahead, Darryl.
I have a unique situation as far as that gap that I think I should discuss with Seth.
Okay. And some people are going to have some unique situations that I think I recall.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So you know, and again, part of that is how we selected the job you're looking for.
Right.
So that's already been pre-explained by guiding you to a path that's just, we think, a better fit, where that becomes less of a stigma.
Hopefully by the time Seth really does your resume, and this is for anybody who's taking courses here at the Academy, we, Emily and Janet, works feverishly on people getting internships either here at the Academy or externships outside the Academy. That's one thing that will definitely go on your resume as you do those. Even if you volunteer around the Academy, that goes on your resume also. So that gives you some type of work experience. And if you go outside the Academy, you get reference from the people that you do your externship with. So that stuff goes on your resume also, along with your past experiences.
Any other concerns, though? I mean, so when we're talking about, okay, go ahead.
Like, when they ask, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? That seems to get me, like, nervous. I, like, get everything.
Really? Well, I mean, what are your strengths? Like, what are you good at? Or what do you love to do?
Public speaking.
That's ironic that you say one of the things I'm really awesome at is public speaking.
No, but I get nervous, especially when they say weakness. You don't want to say anything, you know, I'm thinking, did you say like weakness, I just...
You don't have a weakness?
Typing.
Yeah, you know what my weakness is? I'm allergic to penicillin. I have all these other assets, but you put a piece of moldy bread on the table next to me, I'll start choking. That's
You can say that. You can say that.
I would, because I'm goofy.
Michael, can't you take a negative and kind of turn it into a positive? Like, I'm such a perfectionist.
Yeah, like you really...
But not that. I know that's being
You know, but this is where it depends on how comfortable you are with the interviewer. Like, your strength should be pretty obvious to you. You know you're good at things. Like, I really like talking in front of a group, right? I have good public speaking skills. So your nervousness isn't over what's your strength. If you were to really refine your question, your nervousness is
the weakness.
They're going to ask you what are you bad at.
I'm sweating.
Yeah, and you want to know something? That's okay with you. Like, why not be honest in that situation? So this is where we edit it. Do you want to truly tell them a weakness is my spelling sucks? Is that good to say? Do we want to edit that? Yeah, I think we want to edit that. So you might say my strength is public speaking. I love talking. And if I had to pick a weakness, it would be I need to proofread better. Proofreading would be something I want to work on a little bit better. Because they need an answer. It's a goofy question. It's a throwaway question. It serves no practical purpose in the interview. Like, what are you bad at? Like, I'm bad. I'll steal. I'll steal from you. You want to know what I'm bad at? I would not leave money on the table because I'll just walk by and take it. Somebody can gonna say that out loud? No, they're gonna give you a goofy weakness like my spelling's not as good, or sometimes I don't read as well as I want to.
I don't like to.
So you gotta give them something, but instead of saying I'm bad at this, say, you know, I really need to, you know, my weakness is I need to constantly be on the lookout for spelling, which is why I spend so much time in spell check and all those other editing tools. It's why I had to make the use of those strength. I've got to compensate for something I know I'm not naturally good at. I'm only good at it because I worked my butt off to get that way.
So what if I say my strength is I like interacting with people? What would be my weakness?
Well, what's your weakness?
I don't like being late.
Are you late?
Are you late?
No.
Well, then it's not a weakness.
No.
Give me something you're actually bad at. You're punctual, that's a strength. Give me something you actually don't do well, like really.
I can't think of nothing. I know it's a lot. I can't think of nothing.
Are you a patient person?
I am so patient. No, I'm not. I'm not patient. I'm not patient. I'm not going to lie. I'm not a patient person.
I like dealing with people, just don't let them piss me off.
Right.
I can say that.
No! Do not say that. Oh my God.
So what would I say?
So, but see, you can't have a weakness that counteracts your strength.
Right.
I really enjoy working with people. And you know what I might say where sometimes I get a little impatient? And you know something? My weakness might be sometimes I focus so hard on the relationships I'm engaged with. I focus too much. Too much that some people might want to throw a monitor at me. Sometimes I focus too much. But focus is not a bad word. Focus is a positive word.
Right. I focus too much, yeah.
I'm not patient. Negative. I like people as long as they don't get on my bad side, then screw them. Screw them all. Woof. Yeah, we'll go here and there.
Like, my weak point is like taking notes because I miss what's being said after that. When I'm taking the notes, I'm missing the next point.
Well, so I wouldn't say my weak point is I'll forget stuff if you give it to me.
I won't forget it, but I'm saying I'm not going to catch the next thing you're saying when I've gotten the first thing.
So you might want to say is, you know, my strength is I'm a good hands-on learner. You know, and that's really what I like to do. And I'm a tactile guy. I'm the guy. You show me how to do it, I'll do it.
That's true about it.
Yeah. So what's your weakness? My weakness is don't give me the book, show me how. You show me how, I'm your guy. And the good news is we're giving you jobs where it's show me how type of jobs. That's why your job goal was crafted for you. I'm not putting you in an office where there's going to be a lot of written rules and protocols. I'm putting you in an interaction where it's a, if you do it a few times right, you're going to do it 1,000 times right. And I think that's going to serve to your strength. Sorry. Got it? Other fears. I mean, this is good. I mean, this is, like, what are the real questions you have that you're afraid to ask? If we're gonna shoot elephants today.
I don't know how to word it.
All right, well, do your best.
Okay. I remember you were telling me, and I found it's something that I did do, and since you told me this, I was not doing that. You talked about when somebody asks me something, asks me a question. I'm not actually just listening to the question. I'm in my head about what are they really asking, instead of just asking the question. So, my fear in an interview, even though I'm trying to be more aware of that, I have been more aware of that since you pointed that out to me, is, well, how do I not allow that insecurity, fear to, how do I just stay focused on what I know and give them what I know without worrying about am I giving them what they want?
Well, some of it is confidence. Yeah, it is. It's a confidence thing. No, and I understand what you're saying, but I think there's another part to it. I think there's a deeper. So let me rephrase so that way maybe make this a little bit more universal. You're worried sometimes that your answer to a question may not be what the person's looking for, so you're always thinking of your answer instead of listening to the true question. You're more worried about what they'll think than what you say. And you have sometimes, and I remember this from our meeting, you have a need to start talking immediately because you don't like there to be dead space in the conversation. True? Does anybody else get a little bothered by awkward pauses?
Yeah.
One of the things I did in my excuse me, my presentation on Friday was there was a point where I had to gather myself. Somebody started asking me a series of questions that was tangential or just barely peripheral to the topic at hand. I was talking about cloud computing as part of my presentation, and they started asking me about some web security issues that were a little far afield of my topic.
Right.
Now, I happen to have had a little bit of knowledge in that area, so I shared what I knew. But it started getting me off point. So I answered the question, and all of a sudden, I was going down this pathway, and then they took me over here, which was fine, because it was so close. By the time I finished answering the question, I was standing way over here. So I had to do a, holy crap. Give me a second to get my thoughts together.
Ooh,
That's okay.
good one.
I looked at the audience, and I'm like, I need a couple seconds to get my thoughts together. And I literally said, explaining, I was happy I was able to answer that question, but it took me a little off point. Hold on one second as I regrouped. And you know what they did? They waited. You know why? Because I was the guy standing up and they were the people in the chairs. They had to wait. But you know what it is? The elephant in the room would have been if I started to panic over, oh my God, what are they thinking? Do they think I don't know what I'm doing? I'm confident enough to know, you know something, I'm a human, I make mistakes. Apparently I can't spell the word training correctly, it was the word rating. Like, you know, again, you saw my mistakes here. By the way, my spelling does suck. That's my weakness. But one of the things that's okay to do, as long as you explain to people what's going on, people are very tolerant. You know, it's why I set the expectation with you guys. You're going to want to be on these websites with these things that are purchased for you today. It's not going to happen today. I'm setting the expectation. Give it a couple sessions. It's going to take some time to cycle through. All right? Setting expectations, explaining where things are, takes the pressure off me that I don't feel, right to your point, that I have to be the performer. Oh my God, what are they thinking? What are they thinking? You know what they're thinking? They're thinking he's got to regroup himself to go on.
Yes.
If somebody in an interview asks me a question I don't know the answer to, do you know what I might say? Yeah, that's a really good question. Just give me a second to gather my thoughts.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
No.
Now, what if you don't come up with an answer?
Well, then you're not going to get the job. I mean, there's an ultimate reality. There's a day of reckoning in all of this. But I don't think it's inappropriate to say, like, if it's a really good question, that's a great question. Give me a second. Let me gather my thoughts on this. I want to give you a really solid answer.
Okay.
Oscar, I think it's inherent on you to give them a solid answer. Or die trying. But, you know, that's again where your goal shouldn't be to get the job. Your goal should be to get the interview. And if you really can't answer the question, and it really is a good question, it's not the job for you anyhow. And I'm okay with that. That's when you say, you know, that's a really good question. It's okay to say, I don't have an answer for that. Do you remember during the evaluation, at some point, and I know I said this to each and every one of you because it's a line I never veer from, because I never want to make anybody feel like they don't know. Even if you don't know the answer to a question I'm about to ask you, it's okay if you say, I don't know, or I'm not sure. That's an answer. Because I'll almost always say, invariably, you know the answer to every question here, even if the answer is, I don't know. You know, what's 87 to the 14th power? Anybody know? I don't know is the correct answer. And if you want to make it better answers, I don't know, but I'll find out. But you don't have to know that. I mean, sometimes people will ask you a question that's just too damn hard. That's a very hard question. I don't have an answer for that right now.
What did I have an interview ask me what negative thing that I didn't like about my last job? And that caught me off guard, like, and I told them I don't know.
Oh, they insisted I wear pants on Friday, and I found that very...
They insisted what?
And it had to be over.
So what answer would you give them?
Oh, no. Well, why did you leave your last job? Give me the scenario.
Disability reasons.
Okay.
My last job was a disability.
All right, so you be the interviewer, and I'm going to have you interview Daryl. So the situation is, Daryl, you were at a job, you left because of your disability, okay? And so now the question is, go ahead, ask Daryl.
At your last job, name me one negative thing about your last job.
I had to leave the job because of disability.
Okay, is that a good answer or a great answer?
No, you should have said I love my job, but I had to leave because of that.
Yeah, I may not focus on the disability so much, but it wasn't bad. I mean, you did answer it directly, and I'll give you points for honesty. But those are the only points you're getting, okay? Go ahead, ask me.
Ask again?
No, ask me.
Oh, ask you, okay. At your last job, give me one negative thing about your last job.
Yeah, that's a tough question. because I had a lot of really good experiences at that job, and I met a lot of great people, and I certainly learned a lot. You know, I was sorry when that opportunity had to leave, had to end, but it did. And it had to end for a couple personal reasons that I needed to attend to some family things.
Wow.
My reason for leaving had nothing to do with the job, because I appreciated that job and what it gave me and what it afforded me an opportunity to learn.
Wow, you're good.
You answered the question you want to ask. I didn't say it was something negative. Like, tell me something negative. No.
Yeah.
You tell yourself something negative. Remember I started off by talking about a job, like I just read a book on crisis management. Right? I started the conversation today by saying I read that. You know what the first rule of crisis management is? Don't answer a question you don't want to answer. Yeah.
Because it caught me off guard. I was like, whoa, wow.
Politicians do it all the time.
So and again, somebody might ask me a question. So does Janet snore in her sleep? Do you think I want to answer that question? I don't know if she snores in her sleep, but I can tell you she makes beautiful music. It sounds like a hummingbird in her music. I think it's like, I think it's the ocean waves crashing next to me. That's how glorious it is. Does she snore in her sleep? I'm not going to answer that. What are you, insane? Tell me something negative about somebody you work for. Like, if somebody asked that question, I would say I learned a lot from that job. It ended, the reason that relationship ended had nothing to do with where they were. It's where I was and where I needed to go. Not where they were. They were awesome. I learned a lot, and I enjoyed every relationship there. I'm not going to give you dirt, so stop asking me.
Well,
don't answer questions that you don't need to answer, but you got to explain it.
Right.
I did leave, and I left, not because of them, but because it's where I needed to be. Because you still have to explain it.
Okay.
I had a question. Can I say that I relocated to another area?
Did you relocate to another area?
Yeah.
You can say it. Absolutely. And we'll talk. Don't worry. We'll get into. Some of you guys have slightly more complicated backgrounds. We're going to get into it. There's an explanation for everything.
I see.
But again, you know, in my mind, like, I don't know where your life is. I don't know your story. But in my mind, it's always simple. It's a basic formula. You're going to carry an elephant in the room with you. People are going to see it because they're not dumb. They're going to want to know what's going on. And if you don't edit your answer, explain your answer, and then tell them why your answer doesn't suck, they're not going to like you. And you know something else? They shouldn't. If you can't do that. So they're going to see the elephants. You have to explain why the elephant is with you, because they're not going to have the guts to ask. Right?
Thank you so much.
Does that make sense, or am I?
Yes.
That makes sense. Any other fears? We got 2 minutes. Give me any other big fears, or is everybody the happiest person in the world? Claude doesn't know what he's doing. I think Claude is looking at the ceiling.
No, I was just thinking if suppose you told him something like I left because I didn't enjoy working at night. That just came up with that.
All right. So
is that good?
Is the job you're applying for have night hours?
Hopefully not.
Yeah, the job you're applying for is night hours. I would not.
Oh, I wouldn't say that either. I didn't think about that.
But if the job you're applying for doesn't have night hours, because if it's a daylight job,
right.
I think it's okay to say, because why did you leave your last job? The people were wonderful. I learned a lot. You know why I ultimately left? The work schedule. They had a midnight to 6 a.m. crew. It just wasn't compatible with who I am or who my family is. It didn't work. And that's ultimately what kind of caused that to break down. But it wasn't the job and it wasn't the people, man. It was just the hours did not work. That's why this opportunity seems so right for me.
Also say there's no room for advancement.
I got a question.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great one, too.
I got a question. Did you say it was okay to ask the question, how long do you think it will be before you make a decision?
If the interview goes well, like if you really feel like you're nailing it and you really want it, I think it's very appropriate to let the interviewer know you're interested in selling them. Especially if you're going for a customer service or retail sales, front desk position where you're going to be engaging. I'm really, is there anything wrong in saying, I'm really interested in this? You know, can you let me know what the next steps are and what's your timeline? Like, when do you think you're going to be making a decision? Because I'd really like to see this happen. I'm really excited. What's wrong with being excited? Just so you know, the answer is nothing. There's nothing wrong with being excited.
The one thing that goes along with that, if you're going to ask that question, make sure you ask questions about the company. And make sure you let that interviewer know that you know something about that company to let them know that you are interested in working for that company. Then you can open up that line of question towards the end of the interview.
Oh man, well I am exhausted. This has been 3 full hours.
Yes.
But it's been exciting.
I think Daryl had his hand up. Did you get your question answered?
I think Daryl just answered it. The question that I was going to ask is, when they say, like, why did you choose this company, or something to that effect.
Right.
You get tongue-tied. I get tongue-tied when they say, why did you want to work here, or why do you want to work here? I get nervous all over the set.
Well, the reason that might be is because you didn't do your homework. You got to know something about that company before you go in there and talk to them. You got to know that.
Yeah, I mean, remember, the only reason they even know you exist is because you applied to them, so they were hoping, like Daryl, you had to have a reason because you said you wanted to be here. So if you don't know why you're here, why the hell are you here?
Right.
Daryl's point is spot on. You got to do a little bit of homework, but you'll be trained in that. All right, that's it for today. If anybody has questions, I'll be here for about another 5 minutes up front. Other than that,
5 minutes.
come to your classes with questions. Bring your fears out. This is where we want to kind of really resolve those things and get you going in the right direction. Great job, though, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,